Thank you very much. Welcome to Chipembi Girls Secondary School. We are a granted institution that is run by the United Church of Zambia. And this school was founded in 1926. We are actually the first girls boarding school in Zambia. And by that, you know what that entails. It simply means that most of educated women in Zambia, even those that occupied positions of influence when we gained our independence in 1964, they have roots that are traced to this our great institution. So we boast of being pioneers of girl child education in Zambia, and we've produced women of substance. So I would say my administration has endeavored to ensure that we maintain this legacy of producing women of substance. We are well known for academic excellence, and we have had 100% pass rate, I think now 9 years in a row, starting from 2013 up to where we are now. Just last year we also achieved 100% pass rate, and this is quality 100% pass rate. We had 18 girls getting 6 points as it were, and these are quality results. You have girls that are taking pure classes. We find 1 in physics, 1 in additional mathematics, 1 in chemistry, 1 in physics, biology, and so forth. So basically our secret is that we have a strategic plan that is anchored on 5 pillars. Our mission is to provide holistic quality education using innovative pedagogies for the development of a well-rounded child. And by well-rounded, as you saw, I took you around various strategic business enterprises which are agricultural in nature, and these are enterprises that we are using to ensure that we pass on these much needed functional skills to these learners, so that when they go out there, they're able to fit into society and use the skills that they have gathered from this institution and make a living out there. So that's our mission. Our vision is a leading provider of holistic quality girls education in Zambia. And our foundation upon these 4 pillars are built is basically adaptive and strategic leadership. That's what is our Jesus, so to speak, our rock upon which this institution stands. So in whatever we do, we ensure that whenever there are turbulences and changes, we embrace adaptive leadership, and this entails having to innovate and come out of any turbulences that the school may come across. And coupled with that, we embrace a strategic leadership where we've institutionalized strategic planning as it were. So I talked of 4 pillars upon which this institution is anchored, which has produced these results that we have just seen. The first pillar, of course, is teaching and learning pillar, because this being a learning institution, our core business is to ensure that we provide academic knowledge and life and career skills to the learners. So that's our first pillar. And in this pillar, we have a model that we have dubbed the KAIST model, which basically just stands for Chipembi Academic Improvement Strategic Triangle. What this entails is that first, we invest heavily into quality education. So even when we are doing our financial budgeting, we ensure that we allocate resources to factors that weigh quality teaching over any other factor. And that's why you've seen, even in terms of results that we produce, is quality results that are comparable to international standards. And besides that, we also embrace what we call individual attention. We give individual attention to both the learners and the teachers. So through our robust examination analysis, we're able to tell where weaknesses are in terms of the teaching staff. And once we identify the weaknesses, then we look at what training needs that this particular teacher or this particular department requires. And if we don't have expertise within the school to give out those skills to our teachers, we will outsource people from outside to come and capacity build our teachers. That's on the part of the teacher. So on the part of the pupils, how do we ensure that we create individual attention to the teacher? I've always told my teachers that when you go to class, our focus should not be on those children that are performing exceptionally well. Our focus should be on those slow learners that are struggling. Because believe you me, it's not always that when a teacher delivers a lesson, you'll have 100% effectiveness in terms of lesson delivery. You still have a certain percentage of learners that will fail to get the information that teacher was teaching in that particular class. So what teachers do, they create their own extra time where they will meet these slow learners on one-to-one. Because the idea is that if you don't employ that strategy, those slow learners will not make it. They will fail the exam, either grade 9 and grade 12. And if that happens, it's not feasible for us to maintain the 100% pass rate. We've been able to maintain the 100% pass rate for 9 years in a row because of embracing that strategy of ensuring that we create individual attention to slow learners. And then the last part of the KAIST model is that we focus more on academic than any other thing. So we find most of the time when you're in this school here, our teachers resort more than 3/4 of the time basically through teaching and learning as it were. So that's our first pillar. So our first pillar, like I said, is teaching and learning, because this is our core business. Now, for this pillar, for us to be able to yield the results that we have, quality results, it entails that we need a lot of resources to plow into this pillar. And that's where the second pillar comes in, and this talks about institutional capacity. And in here, we are basically looking at having to ensure that we have an enabling environment for the girl child, for her to unleash her genetic potential. So we invest heavily in infrastructure, as you saw when we were moving around. We also invest heavily into strategic business enterprises. These are the ones that helps us to generate income for the school. We also invest into the human capital, because as you are aware, you can have all these resources, you can have the finances, but if you don't have the human capital with expertise to use these resources, you'll find that you'll not achieve the desired results, as it were. So that's our second pillar that feeds into the first pillar. So second pillar is basically institutional capacity. By that we mean enhancing institutional capacity in the area of physical, financial, and the human capital. The third pillar, upon which this institution is anchored, is that of operation efficiency. We have institutional capacity in place, we have the resources in place, and it's a question of ensuring that these resources are utilized efficiently. And by this pillar, we are looking at using less resources for more output, as it were. When you saw the model that I showed you, the agricultural model, which is an integrated farming system, you have the poultry enterprise there, which produces the manure. The manure feeds into the beef enterprise. So what we are doing between the poultry and the beef enterprise is that we are reducing the cost of running the beef enterprise. Otherwise, had it not been for the poultry manure, we would have been buying supplementary feed to feed these animals. So we are basically efficiently rearing beef animals at a least cost and getting the same results compared to the farmer that is, having to go and buy these expensive supplementary feeds. Then we have now the beef enterprise. I took you around to the other two vegetable enterprises. That's the cabbage and the tomato enterprise. That field you saw, those two fields that you saw there, that was a crop. We've been planting there now. This is now 2 years in a row. And initially it was a crop. So what we would do, we would keep animals in a particular area for a period of 3 years. After that, we would shift the animals and take them to another place. And that period, when they are in that particular area, they are defecating and they are walking around, they are mixing the dung with the soil, and the soil gets enriched with nothing but, organic fertilizer, as it were. So all we do, we move in after 3 years, plow, plant the seeds, and just do the watering. And by so doing, what are we doing? We are running the vegetable enterprise efficiently because we've cut down completely the idea of having to buy fertilizer. So the tomatoes that you saw there and the cabbage that you saw there's no single grain of fertilizer that is applied to that field. All that nutrients that the plants are surviving on is as a result of the manure that was, deposited by these animals. So that's our third pillar, which is talking about operational efficiency. When it comes to teaching, how do we ensure that there is operational efficiency in terms of teaching? We have adopted a system where we are encouraging our teachers to use PowerPoint presentation, because we've realized that cuts down on the time that the teacher will have to start writing on the board. You can imagine you're teaching on the heart, and then you go to class and you start drawing the heart on the blackboard. That's time wasting. So the teacher would prepare the lessons in PowerPoint presentation, go to class and teach. And we found that by the time we are in second term of, say, grade 12 and grade 9, teachers will have finished the syllabus. And we use third term, just purely revising with the pupils as it were. Our last pillar is the Chipembi brand, corporate image. We've endeavored to ensure that we maintain the good name, that the brand name, the Chipembi brand that was established in 1926. And this explains why this school is very famous. Beginning of every year, if you came in, you wouldn't even have time to see me, because you find these queues and queues of people wanting to, meet me so that they have their children enrolled in this institution. So it's these four pillars: teaching and learning pillar, institutional capacity pillar, operation efficiency pillar, and Chipembi brand pillar. That's what has yielded the results that you've just seen of the beef enterprises that we have, 94 beef animals, broiler enterprise, the vegetable enterprise, and equally even these results that the school is producing. Now, people have argued that, remember last week we had the Honorable Minister of Education visiting our institution, and when we walked him around, and he was amazed to find that what we are actually championing here is what people are calling for. People have always argued that there will need to change the Zambian curriculum because it's not speaking to the needs of the 21st century skills. But my argument is that Chipembi is doing it. Because when you talk of providing 21st century skills, we are basically looking at an education system that encompasses the four domains. The first domain is that of the 3 R's, which is basically providing academic knowledge to the learners. How are we demonstrating that we are providing core academic knowledge to the learners? It's the results that I've just shown you, where you have 100% pass rate 9 years in a row. The second domain is that of ensuring that the learners that pass through a particular institution are equipped with what we call life and career skills. How are we doing it here at Pembi Girls Secondary School? You saw for yourselves. We went to the garden and you found the pupils harvesting the tomatoes there, So pupils who run through the plowing, the planting, and all the routine management practices of all these enterprises. By so doing, we are passing on these survival skills that learners can use even when they leave, this school as it were. So basically, that's what the Chipembi model is all about. So you may ask, what has been the impact of the Chipembi model? The impact of the Chipembi model is as evidence from the certificates that you can just see in the background there. Our school does participate in the National Agriculture Show, and I think starting from 2016 we've always emerged the best at Agriculture Show, as evidence from those certificates. And there's one certificate in 2017 where the school was asked to compete with commercial farmers in the area of oxen, and you won't believe that's the one that is in the middle there. We're actually the best oxen exhibit the country in 2017, and then that's beating all the commercial farmers in the Republic of Zambia. Now you can imagine this is just a school, and you have seasoned commercial farmers that just do nothing, but they woke up in the morning is looking at routine management practices, beef production and so forth. Whereas for us, we are just doing this as a by the way, and we are able to compete favorably and outshine these seasoned commercial farmers. So this is evidence enough to demonstrate that Chipembi model has had a huge impact insofar as demonstrating what we are capable of doing. On the academic front, we have had institutions visiting this school just to try and come and learn and import the best practices from this our great institution. You won't believe it, we have, I think some 4 weeks ago, we had David Kaunda Technical School. HODs as head of departments, the deputy head and the head teacher, and Kamlanga Secondary School, the head teacher, the deputy, and all the HODs coming to visit Chipembi Girls Secondary School. Now, if you talk of David Kaunda, I mean, it takes the cream of this nation. And even in terms of academic results, of course, they've been having 100% pass rate, but quality-wise, we are almost at par with this institution. And I thought that they had something that they could, come and learn from us. So for us, that is a clear demonstration that Chipembi model has actually made a huge impact out there. Because where you see seasoned institutions wanting to come and visit the school, that's in itself is evidence enough that Chipembi has made a positive impact out there. Just last week on Saturday, we had the Honorable Minister, Douglas Yakareba, the Minister of Education, and he did mention to us that on Friday, when the President was giving a speech in Parliament on national values, he touched more on girl children and things like that. So what came to the Minister's mind is that which school can I visit? And he thought of coming to Chipembi Girls Secondary School. And when he came, he was even saying, I thank God that he guided that I come and visit school. Because what I've seen here, if it's replicated in other institutions, then this country would develop. So, like I've said, those issues that I've mentioned are evidence enough that Chipembi Girls Secondary School model is making a huge impact at national level.